Thank you, Mr. Cohen. I'll now recognize the gentleman from California, Mr. McClintock.
Thank you. Ms. Clarke, as I'm sure you've surmised, the concern of many of us here involves the unequal application of the laws based on the political or ethnic identity of those involved. The chair cited many examples involving everything from acts of violence against pro-life clinics to anti-Semitic hate crimes, for example. The law is only respected if it is applied evenly. So what can you tell us to address these concerns?
Thank you, Congressman. I believe wholeheartedly that the division, the entire department is committed to even-handed enforcement of the law. We follow the facts and we apply the law. When it comes to hate crimes, anti-Semitic violence and standing up to anti-Semitic hate crimes is a top priority for us.
What you say and what you do seem to be very different things. For example, how many prosecutions has your division initiated against violence and vandalism by anti-abortion groups such as Jane's Revenge against anti-abortion clinics as opposed to the other way around? The chairman cited 126 prosecutions against pro-life groups and only 4 against pro-abortion groups under the FACE Act. Are these numbers correct? And if they are, how do you explain them?
While I can't speak to prior administrations, what I can tell you is that in this year alone, we've had indictments in January and March.
Well, how many prosecutions during your tenure have been initiated against pro-life groups, and how many against pro-abortion groups?
Well, I provided 2 examples from just this year.
I'm looking at the entire totality of what you're doing. I'm not cherry-picking numbers. What are the actual numbers in totality?
Well, those are 2 sets of indictments, Congressman.
Okay, you're not going to answer the question. Let me go on. How many prosecutions has your division initiated against hate crimes directed against the Jewish community as opposed to those directed, say, at the Muslim community? Christopher Wray testified at a Senate hearing that religion-based hate crimes against Jewish Americans comprise 60% of all such crimes, despite there only being 2.4% of the American population. So I guess my question would be, are 60% of your religious-based hate crime prosecutions been in attacks against Jewish Americans?
Our Tree of Life prosecution from
that's
this
one
year
case.
is...
I'm looking at the totality. I'm not interested in your cherry-picking one case that you've pursued. I want to know, what is the total amount? Have 60% of your prosecutions been directed against religious-based hate crimes directed at Jewish Americans?
I can provide
yes or no?
I can provide countless examples.
I'm not looking for examples. I want the total number.
I would be happy to provide that.
Have 60% of your prosecutions been against hate crimes directed at Jewish Americans? Yes or no?
I don't have the precise number, but countless examples. I'm happy to provide the list.
The precise number will tell us whether you are being candid in the relationship between what you say and what you do. Another concern is that the Civil Rights Division's perceived resistance to Supreme Court decisions forbidding universities from discriminating against applicants based on their race. In the Students for Fair Admissions case, you called this, quote, a dog whistle that could invite a lot of chaos and unnecessarily create hysteria among colleges and universities who may fear that the government may come down on them for their efforts to maintain diversity on their campuses, unquote. Well, once the Supreme Court spoke clearly on this issue, your division released an advisory to universities telling them how to violate the law by, quote, linking students' applications to their race. Is the administration bound to obey the law, or is it not?
Yes, Congressman.
And how do you explain that memo?
We follow and abide by the rulings of the United States Supreme Court.
But you don't. Your memo speaks to that. I mean, can you at least see how such a memo could be viewed as open defiance to the authority of the Supreme Court and the rule of law?
We comply with the mandate of the Supreme Court, Congressman.
Well, but you're not. Finally, how do you see the separation of jurisdictions between local law enforcement agencies and federal law enforcement? In what cases do you believe the federal government should defer to local law enforcement agencies?
Well, we collaborate and work closely with local and state law enforcement. The tragic killing of Ahmaud Arbery is one example. The state of Georgia did not have a hate crimes law on the books at the time that Mr. Arbery was tragically killed. Our federal hate crime prosecution here was important. But every day we work to collaborate and coordinate with
How
local.
often do you defer to local law enforcement in their
Often,
legitimate?
Congressman. We have limited resources and rely on local and state governments to do their part enforcing the law.
Great, thank you.
Thank the gentleman from California. Recognize the gentleman